Just some bullet points here. The NFL and NFLPA agree to extend the CBA deadline to March the 11th, 5 p.m. a week hence. Two sides will take the weekend off, resume negotiations on Monday, and the teams cannot make any transactions in that time. Let's continue our conversation right now. Ray Dittinger is here, the Hall of Fame writer from Comcast Sportsnet, CSNPhilly.com. Les Bowen is here from the Philadelphia Daily News. He's got props. We'll show you those in a moment. And from the Wharton School, the David Hawk Fellow, the author of 8 books, including Negotiate Like the Pros and the Business of Sports. Our friend Kenneth Shropshire is here. Good to see you all. Can you boil down a little bit more of this to its essence and what it's going to take to get this done, since you've been there and have written about it?
Well, I do think it's moving forward in terms of being a lot closer. And the key really is this decertification piece. The reason the extension has to happen formally is neither side wants to be in the courts with this antitrust law alive. Although the players would prefer to be in front of Doty, they'd prefer not to be in court at all. So the idea of making an extension is good. Nothing to be overly excited about. Thursday night we can get excited if it looks like something's about to happen. Otherwise, this could go on for a while.
When you look at all the pieces of this puzzle, Les, and the $9 billion that they're trying to divvy up, and obviously that's first and foremost. You shook your head, though, as we take a look at the labor talks, dividing $9 billion in annual revenue, but the 18-game schedule, Kelly had said that the Players Association said that's not going to happen. You don't think so?
I politely disagree with Kelly. I think if they can come to an agreement on the revenue, I think the players will take the 18 games regular season. They don't like it, but we've been talking about this for 6 months, and I know during the season, Eagles players expected that to happen. You know, obviously this is a major negotiating point with the union, and they're going to say right up until the end that they are not going to accept this, but at the end of the day, they will if they can get the right deal on the money. You know, that's really the only issue, is this extra $1 billion that the owners want off the top, and how much of that are they going to get? They're not going to get the whole $1 billion. Are they going to get half of it? Are they going to get 2/3 of it? Or are they going to get 1/4 of it? You know, and once they get an agreement on that, all this other stuff, I really think, and you know, what do I know? But I really think rookie wage scale, you know, 18-game season, all that kind of falls into place pretty neatly.
Ray, you've been watching this, and you're the veteran of some job actions before in the NFL. When you see this one, and you realize that they've had labor peace for a long time, 20-plus years, 23 years, do they avoid this ultimately?
Well, the question a lot of people ask is, how is this different than 74, 82, and 87? And the biggest way it's different is the time factor, the time frame. I mean, those strikes came down in season. You know, the 82 strike was 2 weeks into the regular season. 87 strike was 4 weeks into the regular season. They made a deadline there that was in season with everything under play, thinking that if the season's underway, the two sides are going to be more amenable to settlement. They're going to be less likely to strike. The players have already gone through training camp. The season will be underway. The owners aren't going to want to lose. You're going to get a deal done if it's in season. Well, we learned that wasn't the case because they struck both times. Now you have your deadlines, which are now been extended a couple of times, but there is what appears to be the benefit of some time to negotiate before you begin losing some real issues. I kind of agree with what Les said in regards to Kelly about the 18-game season. The players don't like it. They don't like it at all. But most of the guys I talked to during last season kind of thought, this is coming, and there's nothing we're going to be able to do about it. But there is a give back on the other side that I think they can negotiate here, which is, okay, we'll give you 18-game season, but you need to give us more players on the roster, more roster spots, activation of players every week as opposed to deactivating players, expanding the size of the rosters, and backing off on the off-season. You know, fewer OTAs, shorter practices in training camp. If we're going to play a longer regular season, then give us back more of the off-season to sort of balance things out. All these things are negotiable. It's just a matter of putting them on the table and the two sides agreeing to it.
Ken, I asked Kelly about George Cohen, who's the federal mediator and attorney involved in this whole thing. How essential is he? How important has he been to keeping these sides together where otherwise they might have sprung a long time ago?
I tell you, there's 7 more days because of Cohen. He has probably wisely separated the parties, had private conversations, brought them back together. I mean, he's put his integrity on the line. He said, I've seen this before with truckers or railroads or other bigger deals than you guys. Here's how we can bring this together. And he's gotten information from each side, probably seeped out a little bit where appropriate to the other side, and he's trying to bring them closer together. So Cohen has done this many times before with much bigger stakes than the NFL. So he's an essential character.
All right, let's listen now. Roger Goodell today, DeMaurice Smith today. I think we have Jeff Pash as well on the status of the negotiations. This is down in D.C. earlier today.
Again, I've repeated it over and over again. This is going to get resolved through negotiations, not through litigation. So talking is better than litigating.
We're looking forward to getting back together with the Players Association next Monday, and we're going to continue to work. I think we're at a stage where the issues have been joined. There's been a tremendous amount of discussion. It's time for us really to dig deep and try to find solutions and try to be creative and try to compromise in a way that will work for everybody. The commissioner's been very clear. If both sides give a little, everyone can gain a lot.
Well, I'm not going to talk about where we are. I think it's very important to recognize and never forget what we've talked about over the last 2 years about both what the league has demanded back and what the players' response has been to it. We all are stewards of our game. We all have a fiduciary responsibility to the players who played this game, the players who play this game, and the players who will play. And that fiduciary obligation extends to every man, woman, and child who loves to watch our game and dig the people who play it. So I want you to know on behalf of the players of the National Football League, they understand that, they appreciate it, and we're never going to squander it.
How about $5 grand plus for every man, woman, and child in Philadelphia? What's 9 billion? Well, 9 million seconds is 104 days. It's about 3.5 months. That's 9 million seconds. 9 billion seconds is 285 years. And if you take a look at the population of Philadelphia, and we're sorry South Jersey, and we're sorry Delaware County and Delaware, but the population of Philadelphia, 1.5 million plus, 9 billion would be almost $6,000 for every citizen of Philadelphia. And Ken, I would go back to you and saying public perception is that billionaires, millionaires, and I know some have taken umbrage within the negotiating teams about that, but the fact is that's a heck of a lot of money. How important is the perception of all this, or does it not matter? Because the fans are going to come back regardless.
Well, both sides have actually taken a lot more effort this time to try to handle that PR piece of it. A lot more work was done in advance, but it's still in the end. People say it's it's billionaires versus millionaires. What's the point? How do you divide up $9 billion? That's how difficult could that be? Give me that problem. So that'll become more and more of a problem as we get closer and closer to the season. So if we get into August, September, that becomes more problematic. Right now, it's still a lot of business.
Ken, in your opinion, do the owners have a big point here? Is the system skewed too far toward the players as it is now?
Well, each time there's a CBA, you get a chance to see how it runs. And I think from the owner's standpoint, maybe we could have had a better deal. Maybe we didn't strike the best deal possible. So they're trying to regroup from the deal they had the last time and get that extra $1 billion on the base and try to move forward from there. But as you said, it's all a matter of where it's going to end up. They want some more. Whether they get the full $1 billion or not, I doubt. But it's a chance for the owners to get more than they've had, and the players, from their standpoint, let's not give up too much.
I think I'll take you to 30th Street now. You need to go down there and help out. Ray, we were talking before we went on about Judge David Doty in Minneapolis, and I'm wondering what kind of a sticking. I asked Kelly about that, Kelly Johnson, earlier from Comcast Sportsnet Mid-Atlantic. How key is his courtroom to the owners in particular?
It's very important. It's very important because Judge Doty has clearly indicated that he is a pro-player guy. I mean, all the decisions that have come down have been that way, solidly, including even this week, his decision to basically freeze the $4 billion TV deal that the owners felt that they had in place for this year, that they were going to get the TV money whether there were games or not. I mean, people referred to that as a war chest for the owners, and the owners didn't like that term, but that's really what it amounted to. Judge Doty basically said, no, that isn't going to happen, fellas. And so that really changed. Yes. And so, yeah, the owners, it is an interesting dynamic, Mike, because everybody tries to make this your classic union, management versus worker situation. It's not. These aren't the Teamsters. These aren't the pipe fitters. This is a whole different dynamic here. You have a situation where the owners in this situation, where management wants to keep the union intact. That doesn't exist out in the other world. But they want to keep the union intact because if there's decertification and it becomes an antitrust suit, then it becomes a harder case for the league to win.
You mentioned Doty's decision this week, and one aspect of that I don't think got enough coverage was not only did he cut them off from this money, which they had said that they weren't going to use this year anyway, that it was only for the second year of a lockout. Like you'd really have a second year of a lockout. That, you know, at that point you don't have a sport anymore. But he also started talking about setting a hearing for damages to the players, you know, resulting from that. And that's really a can of worms I don't think the owners want to get into. You know, I mean, they could end up paying this money to the players, you know, because they went out and negotiated these contracts solely with the idea that they were going to gird for a labor stoppage.
Ken, the draft is next month. How important, how much motivation is there for the commissioner to get things done prior to the draft so he doesn't have to stand up there at Madison Square Garden and get booed out of the forum, because that would be it. You know, have the draft and then see you later. Is that motivation to get this going?
It's a big public moment. So there's the draft and then the season. I mean, so those are the two moments where you've got some leverage to say, let's get this thing done before this event. So certainly if we don't have some movement this week, which, you know, is iffy, that's going to be the next big moment. But from there, it's going to be kind of a dead man's land. There's very little opportunity to really provide motivation from the league standpoint. And the players start having that lack of checks and those issues start. So you get a little bit more pressure on that side. But for the league, it's the season. And
quickly, Ray, if they're adrift after that, are games missed? Or do you think it comes together prior to that?
Mike, I still find it hard to believe we're going to lose games. I mean, I really do. I think there's going to be could it run through the spring and take out the OTAs? Yeah. Could it run through the summer, maybe eliminate training camp as we know it? Possibly. But I just find it hard to believe that we're going to lose games. But, you know, there is going to be a draft. We know that. At the end of April, the draft will go on, but there can't be any player movement if there's no CBA. You can't be trading draft picks. It's going to be a very static sort of deal, and you can't sign your players. You're drafting the players, you're getting their rights, but you can't sign them until there's a CBA. If this thing runs up to the beginning of the season, you're going to be trying to sign all of your draft picks within a matter of 48 hours and then get them on the field and start playing games. It's just not realistic.
Yeah, got to take a timeout. I'm sorry. Let's stay right there. Raymond, thanks so much. We'll see you real soon. Professor Shropshire, it's always great to see you. I'm sure we'll see you a lot all over the place. Appreciate it. Ken, well, yeah, I hope not, but I hope so because we love when you're on. Ken Shropshire from the Wharton School at the University of Pennsylvania joining us. Love when he's on as well. Ray Ditcher, Les Bowen. And we'll take a quick timeout. We come back. We got to talk about the Eagles. Maxwell Awards are going on right now in Atlantic City. We'll talk to Les and Jeff McClain and Damo about that. Here's our slug it, Cole Hamels. Looking good. Rich Doobie says he could go tomorrow. He could start the season tomorrow. He's been pitching like it down in Clearwater. Send your headline suggestions to telldnl@comcastsportsnet.com.
Daily News Live presented by AT&T, the nation's fastest mobile broadband network.